Welcome back to the Forensic Detailing channel. Don't forget to hit the subscribe and the bell and join us on Patreon. And we have a detailing fundamentals training course if you're really interested in getting up to speed on all this machine polishing stuff and other detailing stuff. How to really gloss up your paintwork, guys. So really, when you're machine polishing your car, you can think of two activities, one cutting and one finishing. And really, when you're cutting paintwork, you're using stiffer pads and you're using heavier abrasives, and your aim is to get a level of correction, as a heavy abrasive, for example, is to get a level of correction where you remove all the deep swirls and defects or sanding marks, but it's mainly going to be swirls, isn't it, for guys at home? So that's cutting, and typically on most normal paintworks, I like to cut with the foam flex pad because it will leave a really good finish as well, although it's not too important. If I want to go hell for leather and just, I'm not worried about the finish because I'm going to be refining, I might use these flex greens, or the biggest hammer, the Rupes coarse wool. Really cuts like crazy. You definitely need to finish out the Rupes coarse wool with like a nice foam pad. And then these yellow ones are quite a good mid-range wool that you could even single stage in. But you could also work a ton of cut with those. So they might be ideal for cutting and finishing on softer paints as well, or single staging on harder paints. So that's cutting. But really getting the shine coming through in your car. And just before I do that, cutting tends to be a bit more messy, more heat being generated, more debris being picked up in the pad, some more pad cleaning, more pad swapping maybe, working the pads harder, dusting up a bit more maybe, though you want to avoid that. Finishing is a lot less heat being generated, a lot less abrasion, you know, finer abrasives, a lot more oily, a lot easier to buff off the panel. Now you can skimp on the finishing and it's hard to tell the difference. You could probably cut with H8, and only someone that's really been doing this a long while would be able to see the difference between a cut and a finish, and just a cut with H8. And it would really be looking at the reflection. And if there's any dullness in that reflection, the gloss meter could pick it up. So the money, where it's at, is really in finishing. And like I say, that's the difference between a quick polish and a really good polish. Now, I'm using M2, which is the one I just showed you. I've decanted some into this little Gion bottle that I cleaned the hell out of, just because it's a bit lighter. Now, the first thing is you don't need a lot of polish. So this pad is well and truly primed now. So we're just going to put 4 little dots down, and then you can just clean the pad, you know, clean it off and then close it up like that. And that's going to be enough polish. I'm breaking this hood down into 9 sections. And the key, now you can break it into 9 squares, but sometimes it's best, if you look at this particular thing, I've polished up to here. And if I look at this particular panel here, there's a real nice piece to polish there. And there's a real nice piece to polish there. And polishing that in a square isn't always the best way to go about it. You can do. But what I'm going to do is I've got to polish, I've polished up to there, so I've got to polish that section as well. So what I'm going to do is 2 sets. I'm going to do a set for this piece up to here, roughly. And I'll do down here, and I'll do this, and I'll end at that swage line, and then I'll do another set to go into here. Is that a bit of contamination, or is that a chip? That's a bit of rubber. So I should really, as I said before, I didn't get that with the detar. So let's just get that off before we polish. Should really get a bit of lube going. There we go. Okay, let's just get a bit of rubber off. So I'm just going to show you the set. And I think the key is to let the machine really act on an area rather than just kind of zip, 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 done. I think it's, you know, it's better if you just let the machine work an area. And I want to show, that's why I want to show you a live polishing set. So let's just make sure you can see everything there. So let's dab out. I'll just move that. I'm really liking my own little thing that I said. It's the first time I've really been doing this, of just leaving polish on the edge so I know where I've polished up to. I've rubbed the rest off. Just gives me a little visual marker. It's a really handy tip, that is. So we dab our polish out. Up to there. And then, that's okay. Up to there. So we've got kind of like a little section. And here we go. So I'm going to go up and down and then cross hatch really slow. And then probably just one quick one. I'll just spread as well on speed 1. Okay, we'll crank up now to speed 4.5, 5-ish. A tiny little bit downward pressure. Nice and slow. There's a good chunk of overlap. Polish on the line, even with a finishing polish. Go over the edge. Tilt that way a bit, so you're getting into the groove. Or you can come down a bit there, that's probably better. Important bit of the car is a really serious bit. So it's worth really taking the time to do this bit properly. We'll just do one more quick lift up a little bit. That's enough. The polish is broken down. It's a really nice product, this M2. It really is. It's just really nice. So that's just sort of still going. and we take our cloth, we do the 4-way fold, find the 4 open edges, pinch them with your thumb, and flip. Get your hand nice and flat on them, but just keep a pinch there, so the you'll pick up the polish. We haven't done that bit. We've got some little soap stains there, but on the bit we've polished, we're looking good. Just gently, don't wipe hard, just in case there is anything in there, because you'll scratch it all up. I've got little marks and things from poodling around at high speeds, and that's going to get worse in a few years. This front bonnet and bumper, it gets little chips and stuff. We'll need painting, so I just create a little front bonnet fund, put like 20 quid in it a month, and then in 3 years' time, probably be enough to paint it, get it painted when it needs it. I think that's maybe the best bet. Probably if it was immaculate, I'd PPF it maybe now, but that's good. Like I said earlier on, my priority with this car is not to have, a showroom finish, because if I put a showroom finish on it, I never want to drive it. Like, it gets all shiny and you want to keep it all lovely in the garage. Whereas I really want to enjoy this car, and I want to enjoy kind of just maintaining it. So it's less about perfection and more just about having fun and doing what's best for you for the car. But there's a nice slow polishing set. There's one other option as well. If you want to remove even less clear coat, a really good product that I don't have at the moment, I'll probably pick up another litre of it. Menzerna SF3800, really good, really handy for the pillars as well, because virtually even less cut, I think, than M2. Virtually no cut. It's really nice for like putting that gloss on the paintwork. But M2's very good as well. The problem, let's just go over and talk about these abrasives. These, you've got the H9, F6 and M3, the new versions of all of these. I don't know if these ones are defunct or you can still get them. I can't find much wrong with these products. These three, I can't really find anything wrong with them. I think the F6 I would definitely probably use over the other ones. What I know is that Koch, I think, have developed or use a different set of abrasives in the H9, F6 and M3 that give the same level of gloss and cut, but it's slightly higher cut. So where that's like an 8 out of 10 or an 8.5, the H9 is a 9 out of 10 with the same gloss. So you kind of have to trust that their new abrasives are better than their old ones. But yeah, I find it really hard because I think H8 is really good as well. Really don't have too many complaints about these products. And I think they are cheaper than the other ones. So yeah, I mean, this is great. This is really good. And I'm running low on this now. So I don't know, I'll probably go with the new stuff. Yeah, really good, really good. And I keep these Koch abrasives, and I've got a couple of other little options there. I've got the Rupes Uno, which I'm nearly empty. That's a nice little AIO, all in one, AIO, yeah. And this stuff, which is phenomenal, really good. But I want to put a different sealant on this time, because the sealants in these products, might give you 2-3 months, something like that, but they're not that hydrophobic. They're all very good. There's 3 very cracking AIOs there. And there's a finishing polish AIO there, which is decent as well. Yeah, so some good abrasives there. I love the Shoal stuff as well. Menzerna, very good. Angel Wax stuff is good. The Rupes stuff is good. So you could have your little favourites. Depends what you're after, actually. Depends what you're after. You could argue the Koch stuff has a slightly higher processing time than some of the other stuff. Like the Rupes Blue is designed for very short sets on the wall pad. It's like literally up and down, up and down, up and down, cross, done, wipe down, inspect. Whereas I tend to work the H8 a lot more as it breaks down, sort of like thins and goes a bit more translucent. But I'll probably work it for longer than I work the Rupes one. But you can argue if you're cutting, you just want the cutting done as quickly as possible, and then the refining you can take as long as you like to get that gloss that you're happy with. So that was a live set, guys. My inspections, I'm not panel wiping down and inspecting. I do have some light to look at there, and I'm not getting every single mark out. Look, there's like a mark there. Can you see that? If I get the light, can you see that little swell? Because that's a deeper scratch, and then so I'd have to be working that, you know, working away at that, trying to get that scratch out and lowering down even more, and then I'll have a low spot of clear coat. I'm just going to consistently go over that, and what I get is what I get, and it will be absolutely fine for my standard, which is not a non-show car that gets used for track days, that just looks nice. Yeah, really love this car. I'm going to do a video actually on kind of 1 year of ownership with an M4 CS, and I'll give you my opinion, because I know the car so well now. You learn, let's just pan out, you learn about cars when you push them to the limits on a track. You really do. You can't push this car on the road, but we'll talk about that in another video. So now that I've actually done a few track days and pushed this so hard, I'm getting real world experience on how much these ceramics are going to cost me, and if they're more expensive than others versus the benefits, you know, the steels. You know, I'm living with the DSG rather than the manual. How's that going? What's the car like to just use as a kind of daily, you know, I don't have a commute, so, but I tend to use this car, although now I'm using the E36 for a couple of weeks and this will stay in here, you know, I cycle them round, and all that sort of stuff. So do I like it enough to keep it long term, or is there another car that might, you know, that I might want to get? Because I could probably sell this for what I paid for it, or maybe even more, because it is a nice one. It's not banged up. It's in good condition. It's all being mechanically maintained flawlessly. I'm going to go get the brake fluid done. I'm going to get new pads in the front. You know, it's not going to want for anything, this car. And it was the best one I could find. It was a lot better than the other ones I looked at, which were absolutely ruined. So yeah, but I think the only thing that I would consider getting rid of this for is a Porsche Cayman GT4, but then I'm not going to be able to get a new one. No chance. And I haven't got the funds to get a new one, but I could maybe step up the ladder a little bit more and get a it's not a 718 Cayman GT4, is it? Is it a 982 GT4 or something? I don't know. That's the only thing I'm interested in. But even that, the only downside with this car is it's too fast, and the GT4 will be too fast as well. And when you're on track, it gets a bit boring, like ripping past 90% of the cars on track. And it's not because I'm a better driver than them, it's because I've got a car that's a lot faster. And like Mark says, you know, Mark Cup 70, it's nice to go on a track and have to work to keep up with cars that are faster than you, rather than, you know, just blasting past cars on the straight because you've got a lot more power. There are some exceptions though, because you do get a lot of high performance cars on the track. So then when you are trying to keep up with something, there's like some GT3s at Brands that were just flying. It's like, ooh, can I hang on to them? But the answer is no, and I'll kill myself trying. But it's that fun that you want every day on a track. So I think something rear wheel drive, manual, closer to 300 brake horse, with a good chassis and brakes which don't let you down. It's a big problem for track days. These carbon ceramics are superb. So it's finding that right balance, and this car might be too balanced in the way of hardcore, you know, and cars are getting more and more hardcore as the years go by. You know, even electric cars are gonna make these things look ridiculously slow once we're fully into the electric era, and we've got like M electric car, because it'll be heavy, but it will just put down its torque instantly, and like it will just, with the X drive and lightweight, you know, or they lighten it out to a certain extent to compensate for the weight of the batteries and all that, but it's able to put its power down because of the weight, and all the electrics will keep you on track, you know, the electronic stuff, torque vectoring and whatever they do. But I don't know, I when I was at Brands, I got a chance to go around in an E36 that a chap there I got chatting to owned, and E36 M3 completely stripped out, really raw, making all sorts of knocking noises from the suspension that were normal, and roaring, you know, and he was working the hell out of the car and having a blast, and it was so raw, and this lacks that rawness, so it's quite refined. But there we go. This is about polishing, so take your time, do nice slow sets when you're polishing, really work that polish to make sure it delivers its sort of final gloss and you haven't left any bits where you've not worked as much. So get your set a bit like a robot, just be really nice and consistent, plan out where you're polishing and just give it the time. If you don't, you might notice little patches you miss where there's little clusters of scratches and stuff like that. So try and be consistent, try and be slow, stick to your set piece. Now I've got to clean this pad out, just give it a little whiz over, put a little bit more polish on, move on to the next step, and it doesn't take long, this. You know, what I'm going to do today is polish the bonnet, polish the wings, and probably polish the front bumper. And I'll do a separate video on the front bumper polishing, front bumper polishing, because that's an area that gets neglected because you don't see it. And I neglect it, you know. I sometimes, you know, you've heard me say, I'll just polish those bits, polish that bit, maybe a quick little whiz over there, but I don't spend as long polishing all these intricate areas as I do when I'm more consistent here. So we'll talk about that. You could spend a long time trying to polish this bumper properly, and it's going to get chipped up anyway. So yeah, how do you want to do it? Do you want to really perfect it, get the 1-inch mini out and like really get in there? Or are you happy just whiz over, you know? We'll see. So that'll be another subject for the video. So thank you for watching, guys. I'm really looking forward to getting this fully polished and getting a good sealant on it. And I'll probably do another video when I put the sealant down as well, because I think that Ultra Lock is a really good product. Really nice. I might even try my 3-way Ultra combo with the Ultra Lock and then the Fuso, and then maintain it with the BSD, which would be interesting, or maintain it with the Sonax ceramic, because that's going to give me some beads as well. I'll do a similar thing to the BSD. Okay, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Take care, and let me know what you do and your routine, and how, you know, how often are you doing these kind of finishing polishes, glossing up the paintwork. We're probably we're removing way less than a micron. You know, we're just touching on the surface, so it's safe to do this many times. The paint on these carbon fibre bonnets are apparently very thin. I was chatting to someone at Gion about that. Jeremy was telling me about this because they were working on one. So I'm also very mindful of cutting this bonnet too much. So just finishing polishes really is going to do for me. On the paint, you could go a bit harder, but I won't. I'm just going to do the same thing all over the car. So bye for now, guys. Thanks for watching. See ya.
Holding on to what I knew, but the moment's gone. Where was I